It popped up now. All right. We're on, aren't we? Well, why isn't it showing on yours, Cliff? Oh, here it is.
Mine's special, I guess.
We're live right now. I'm going to share.
Live from the radio.
Share, and then you said share to a page, and you share to the Ohio County Historical Museum.
But you're not live.
We're not. Did we go off again?
No, because every time I go there, I'm getting this. Yours is not popping up. Watch.
You're dressed like a football player.
So then watch an app like I know mine.
Yeah.
Hit watch an app, and I'm getting this LSU football thing instead of you guys.
You're not watching us. All right, it's 5:56, so we've got it up, and you've got it shared. So what we'll do is we'll just hold tight here and wait for the 6 o'clock hour to come along. There were two people watching. I guess one's you and one's me.
And Kevin will be on soon.
How come I can't get on now though?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. It says we're live.
See, watch. Now I hit watch an app like I do in my podcast.
You get a football player.
That was a good game last night, Cliff.
Yeah,
you really played your heart out there.
Nice uniform.
I'm glad the Tigers won. That's the only thing I cared about.
Yeah, we let them win.
The foosball. We got to play the foosball.
Foosball.
We are live right now.
Okay. Better be careful.
Yeah, let's see. Everybody's trying to connect here. And I'm going to go back to this.
Live from.
I'm getting football.
Hey, that's odd. I have no clue why you keep coming up with that.
Football.
I did my own podcast.
Football.
So it always goes to mine.
Should I hit my button and see what it does?
Let's go back here.
Want me to hit that?
Let's see, Cliff.
It's over my head. I'm just a poor
How'd you get
historian.
it come up now?
You were on the wrong one.
Should I hit that?
Yeah, you can go and watch
That's
yourself,
okay.
but it's on a delay, Cliff, so don't try to catch up with it.
Oh.
Hey,
Kevin is watching.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? Welcome to tonight's show. Cliff's watching.
Oh,
You're sitting here watching yourself.
I'm watching myself. It's scary.
What was that song from the 80s? Somebody's watching me?
Yeah, yeah. Who's watching me now?
The IRS? Oh,
The mailman.
yeah. Somebody's
IRS?
watching me. All right. We're 2 minutes till. So, like I said, we'll get this going on the 6 o'clock hour. We're just trying to make sure we have our equipment up and operating. Make sure we can actually hear ourselves. Can you hear me, Cliff? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All
I
right.
can hear you. Like you're right next door.
All right. Kevin says he's good. Can't wait to hear about the chair. That's what the
I have a great.
that's what the convicts said.
I have a great photograph of Kevin in that chair. It's a hoot.
Oh, was it shocking?
Oh yeah,
All right. Well, that's good.
yeah. He very dramatic.
he liked it.
The element of surprise.
All right, folks. We're gonna go live here in about 10 seconds. So everybody, hold on to your whatever, and I'm gonna play this intro, and we're going to get started. So. I gotta get this thing recording. Let's see. I'm gonna record this. Mics are on. Test levels are showing up. We're recording. From the Ohio County Historical Society Museum in Rising Sun, Indiana, this is Local History Matters. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's podcast from the Ohio County Historical Society. I'm Lane Siekman.
And I'm Cliff Thies.
And we're here this evening to bring you some more matters in our community. And tonight we're going to talk about a topic that, it's probably pretty macabre or gross or it's scary or however you want to put it. You come into the museum, Cliff, and one of the strangest exhibits you can expect to see in a small town museum, it's here at the Ohio County Historical Society. What is it?
Yes, it is. When you walk into the Siekman gallery, our main gallery, sitting over by the windows facing Walnut Street is a replica of an electric chair.
An electric chair in Rising Sun, Indiana.
And I don't mean a power recliner. This is a true electric chair.
No, the question is, why do we have an electric chair in the Ohio County Historical Museum? Why is it here?
Well, to start with, it is a replica.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a replica.
It's not the real thing.
It's not the real thing.
So it's safe for the kids. And
yes.
Right.
And for visitors to sit in and have their pictures taken. Like one of our museum friends, Kevin Quatman, came in and sat down in the chair, and the photograph is absolutely priceless.
And we've never plugged the replica in to make sure it works.
No, never been plugged in.
We've never had any volunteers come down to try it out.
No, not with the power on.
Okay.
No.
Well, how did an electric chair come to be here in Rising Sun? I mean, it's strange to think about. First of all, number one, the electric chair has a long history.
Yes, it does.
You know why we have electric chairs, don't you?
Oh, yes.
We have electric chairs because Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse got into an argument over the difference between AC and DC current. Thomas Edison, of course, invented the light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
And the light bulb,
bright idea.
His light bulb ran on direct current.
Yes.
And direct current is like the juice you got in your car, like a battery. And so Thomas Edison's plan was to build small generating plants all the way around because, direct current can only go so far. So if in the city, you would have one every couple blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But then along comes Westinghouse. Westinghouse gets an idea from this guy named Tesla. You ever hear of Tesla?
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of discussion about Tesla on the internet. Tesla says, hey, he's a genius. He's brilliant. He says, hey, wait, I can come up with a different type of electric current. It's called alternating current or AC. Mm-hmm. And this alternating current, we're able to put a big generating plant in place, kind of like what we used to have in Lawrenceburg. We got across the river now in East Bend. And these generating plants can transmit through electrical lines electricity over long distance. But the only difference is the electricity in alternating current has a much higher amperage. And it becomes a little bit more dangerous. Mm-hmm. And it becomes so dangerous, in fact, that when cities were fighting to decide what kind of electric to put in, Edison said, oh, it's so dangerous, you touch his electricity, it will kill you.
Uh-huh.
And to prove it, you know what he did? The first thing he did? He killed an elephant with electricity.
Yes, he killed an elephant.
Jumbo, I think the elephant's name was.
Yep.
He hooks this poor elephant up and runs all this voltage through him and kills him.
Yes.
So we've got the electricity killing an elephant. And then, of course, at the time, they killed people, who were guilty of heinous crimes. Mm-hmm. They executed them by hanging.
Yes.
And if nobody's gone to a hanging around here that I know of. But a hanging was a pretty gruesome event, even though it was pretty much a public event. Everybody came out, and hung people. In fact, down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, they've got the federal courthouse down there. And there's hundreds of men were taken out into the courtyard there by the courthouse and hung until they were dead because of crimes and so forth. This is a pretty common thing. If you watch old Westerns, hang them high.
Yep.
There's lots of hangings. And so, of course, Edison's looking at propaganda. He's trying to say, hey, let's change people's perception of alternating current from something that's, economical and all that, and make it something that people are scared of.
Yes.
And what's the best thing? He said, oh, it's a more humane way to kill people. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so he proposes creating an electrical chair. So here we got Thomas Edison wants to create the electric chair in order to prove that alternating current is dangerous. Say, oh, your electricity, look what it can do. It can kill people.
Yes. And
so the 1880, I believe, the first electric chair came around. Mm-hmm. And up in Buffalo, New York, The first guy was like a con man or somebody that, you know, had killed someone. They had the first successful electrocution. And in fact, they didn't even know what to call it at that time.
Yeah.
The first person to die in the electric chair. What Thomas Edison did after they electrocuted this guy in the electric chair, he wrote in the papers, he said, I guess he got, you know, this person was successfully Westinghouse last night.
Westinghouse.
So the electric chair's been around a long time.
Yeah.
But here we are in Rising Sun.
Mm-hmm.
We have a replica of an electric chair here.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we have an electric chair?
Well, back in the mid-20s, right around 1926 or so, an agent from the government came down and approached a blacksmith here named Smith Riggs. And Mr. Riggs came from Rabbit Hash right across the river and had set up a successful blacksmith shop on Front Street. The building is gone now. The floods kind of took care of that over the years.
Right.
But he had a successful business, well-liked man, strong member of the Methodist Church. And for some reason, they approached him and said, we'd like for you to construct a new and improved electric chair. We need 2 made. Would you be interested in the contract?
Why'd they come to Rising Sun?
No one's quite sure.
I've got an article here that was in the Rising Sun Recorder back in, I think, 1928.
28.
March 2nd, 1928.
Mhm.
It says, this new type of chair, in fact, this is a really good newspaper article. It says, modern civilization has singled him out, talking about Mr. Smith,
Mr. Smith, yes.
from 120 million persons, more or less, in the United States, to fashion a dread instrument of death, an electric chair, or rather 2 electric chairs, which ironically are classified as more humane than those now in use.
Yes.
It's a humane way of killing people.
Yeah.
The new type of chair, according to J.F. Griggs, a hospital consultant from Indianapolis, under whose supervision the chairs are being built, will lessen the time required to strap a doomed man into the chair preparatory to his electrocution.
Yes.
So this chair was the quick attach model.
It was quick. It didn't have all the belts and loops. It had metal clamps, all the modern
It says here,
conveniences.
seconds seems like hours when a man is being placed in an electric
Oh,
chair,
I'm sure.
knowing that in a few moments he will be dead.
Yes.
I'd be sitting there going, take your time, guys.
Yeah,
Hey, don't worry about that. I mean, you know,
Yeah. The
yeah.
papers joked that, you know, they came to Rising Sun where you could rent a modest 4-room house for $10 a month. We had 1 movie theater and few shops, and of all places to pick, came to Rising Sun and knocked on a blacksmith's door.
It said ordinarily has been required from 5 to 10 minutes to strap a man into the chair.
Yep.
This new model, less than 1 minute.
Yes, very quick.
We have it's like the drive-through lane at McDonald's.
Yeah.
You don't have to bother, waiting and all that. They could strap you in and have you electrocuted
you
at the
ready.
museum.
Yeah.
You can see this model.
Sure, you can even sit in it. We'll clamp you in.
That's right. Clamps, which can be shut in a twinkling of an eye, will replace straps on the new chairs.
Mhm.
Everything will be done to make the occupant of the chair comfortable.
It even reclines.
An adjustable reclining
Yes.
back has been put
It
into the
even
chair.
reclines. So.
I've got one of those magic chairs at home where
Yes.
you push a button and the legs pop up and your eyes go closed.
Yeah.
I mean, but that chair, why a reclining electric chair?
Yeah.
Hey guys, is that comfortable for you? Are
Yeah.
you good?
Are you comfortable? Yeah, I'm ready.
My back is killing.
Kill
Oh,
me
I'm
now.
sorry, I
Yeah.
shouldn't have said that. But so they came here apparently because they were looking for a certain type of timber.
Yes.
They were looking for heavy duty 3-inch air dried white oak.
oak, and that was abundant in the woods around here at the time. So
Rising Sun has a tremendous history in chair.
yes, it does.
Chair
Furniture
making.
history. Yes.
You would think Whitlock, of course, the chair factory ran here for
Mhm.
years. Whitlock's in operation at the time, but they don't go to Whitlock to build the electric chair.
No, they don't. They don't.
Who actually? I mean, Smith was part of it. There's a guy named Williamson.
Yeah, Mr. Williamson was his carpenter in his blacksmith business, his partner. So he constructed the wood frame. Mr. Riggs, of course, did all the metal work on it.
And they put it together. And here's the amazing thing. And I don't know if my office currently is now on Main Street.
Yes.
It's in the old
Oh yeah.
Dibble Hardware building
Yep.
down on Lower Main Street. And they actually went and exhibited these these chairs.
Yeah, the chairs were on public display in the window of your office.
Right.
And it attracted some 4,500 people from Cincinnati came down and stared at this chair in the store windows.
They came down to look in the window at an electric chair.
They were fascinated by it. Fascinated.
And it wasn't easy to get here from
No,
Rising
it
Sun
wasn't.
back in
All
1928.
you had was river roads.
I mean, you had to either swim or ride a boat or
Yep.
or whatever to get down here.
Yep.
But people came from all around.
They did.
They lined up to take a look at this chair, and like you said, it said the article in here. It said again, we're back at the newspaper. Possibly the most unique and without a doubt the most gruesome order ever received by a local manufacturer was one for 2 electric chairs, which came to S.N. Riggs Blacksmith this week from the state of Illinois, and he will be assisted in their construction. And then there's lots of pictures in the paper
Oh, yeah.
of people showing the electric chair
Mhm.
on exhibit
Yeah.
down in the front
Sure.
the front window of
And-
my office.
And we even have a photo of it, the first one being done, setting out in front of the blacksmith shop. So they were quite proud of it. So quite the talk of the town.
So after these chairs were completed, where did they go?
One went to Joliet State Prison in Illinois, and the other to Menard State Prison in Illinois.
So they both went to state prisons up in Illinois.
Yes.
And identical chairs.
Mm-hmm. Identical.
And how did we come to have a replica of it?
Well, this history kind of was forgotten for a while, and then when the museum was going through a great revival back in 2000, there was a lot of research going on, and someone said, "Hey, there are 2 electric chairs made here. There's still one in Joliet that has been decommissioned. I think they've both been decommissioned, but the one in Joliet was decommissioned first, and it's on display in a small museum
In the prison.
in the prison. Now it's outside the prison in a private museum. Well, they sent a local carpenter and engineer, Dean Kerrigan. Everybody around here knows Mr. Kerrigan. He went up and did engineered drawings on it, photographs, and created blueprints because the blueprints had been lost. And that's something we'll talk about.
We'll talk
here
about
lately.
that in a second.
Yeah. He did detailed drawings and came back and built an exact replica out of the same materials, the same way the Smith and Williamson built it. And that's what we have on display now.
Yeah, and if you go online and pull up photographs of these chairs at the prison, it's the exact same chair.
The exact same chair.
Exact same chair. And a little bit of history, it says between 1928 and 1962, the electric chair was used 13 times at Stateville, which is Joliet, including the state's first electrocution. The first person to die in an electric chair died on December 15th, 1928. They actually had a deal where they executed 3 people that same day. 3 convicted murderers were executed on that day.
Yeah.
And then on December 15th, they went down, they executed 3 more. Claude Clark, John Brown, and Dominic Brissett. And so these chairs, they were the primary form of execution in the state of Illinois from 1928 clear up until 1962.
And there was even a discussion on which was more cost effective. It was actually cheaper to hang a man.
Sure.
I think it stated it cost the state of Illinois $18 to hang and kill a human being versus $58 to electrocute someone. But the electrocution was considered more humane. It was quicker.
And of course, we've heard stories. You've seen the movie The Green Mile.
Oh, yes.
And the book by Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's if you just read the description that Stephen King makes of someone where they clamp their head down, they clamp their hands down, and then they run this huge jolt of electricity through them, and the smell and the sound and the noise. I don't see, how that could be humane.
Yeah.
And in fact, all the states now have changed from electrocution to lethal injection. Yeah. In fact, there are very few lethal injections that actually go on. One of the problems being that the proper medications are not available. The pharmacies won't sell.
They don't want to be a part of it.
They won't sell those drugs to the state.
Right.
And so you had people making them up, and then they were coming up with mixes that didn't kill people.
Yeah.
And the electric chair itself wasn't really that effective at killing people. There's discussions about how it takes several times to
True.
kill them. And
True.
do you know whether or not these electric chairs had nicknames like Old Sparky or?
There's never been any names I've read. Of course, there's the old Sparky. Everybody calls an electric chair Old Sparky, but I've never heard of nicknames on the two that were made here in Rising Sun.
So we don't know, but I assume that somewhere over in Illinois they've got a nickname for this chair.
I'm sure they do.
Now this is in 1938. I'm reading an article out of Springfield. Says unless some judge intervenes, Mrs. Marie Porter of St. Louis will be the first woman to die in the electric chair in Illinois. The Governor Henry Horner, avowed opponent of capital punishment, refused today to grant clemency to the 37-year-old mother of 4 daughters who was convicted of financing the slaying of her brother for his insurance money.
Yes. Yeah.
So with another guy named Angelo Giacomo, 32, she was scheduled to be electrocuted at Menard Penitentiary early Friday morning.
Yep.
So unless the governor stepped in, and from what I understand, he did not.
He did not.
The electric chair that was made in Rising Sun executed a woman.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
And I think that's from my research, which is called Google. From my research, it indicated that there was only one woman that died in those chairs over there. So the interesting thing here said John Giacomo, brother of the condemned man, is serving a 99-year sentence for his part in the killing of William Capon near Bellevue last year. Capon was Mrs. Porter's brother. She was accused of hiring the Giaconos to kill him on his wedding day before the girl he planned to marry became the beneficiary of the, get this, $3,300 insurance policies naming the sister. So if you're planning on getting married, be careful about taking your sister off of the insurance policy, because apparently $3,000 was enough to kill her brother back in 1938.
Odd family dynamics, I'm sure.
It's I'm not really sure how that works.
Yeah.
But so she was killed in the chair in Menard. Obviously, the chair in Joliet. I think of the Blues Brothers when I think of the Joliet. Joliet Jake. Where he came out of that prison and so forth. So, but that chair now is in private museum.
In a private museum, and I spoke to the lady down there that runs the little museum, and a couple of years ago, they had approached us wanting to know if we'd like possibly to have one of the originals.
Yep.
And that's kind of a gruesome thing to have in your museum. We're not quite sure we want to take that next step. But it has been offered. But she shared a story a few years ago. The grandchildren of the woman who was electrocuted chair came in with their children and grandchildren and wanted to see the chair.
They came in here?
No, to the museum.
To the museum in Illinois.
Yeah, to see the actual chair that their ancestor had died in. And I guess, I'm not sure what they were expecting to see, but I think when they opened the door up to the room this chair is stored in, because they don't keep it out on public display, one of the granddaughters literally had a nervous breakdown, had to carry her out of there.
And was this a grandparent that had died before she was around, or do you know?
No, I think she was a small child when her grandmother was electrocuted.
Well, that's the lady that killed her brother.
With her after her brother, yes. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for that family.
So who knows? Maybe someday we will get an original, but I, as a museum director, I'm not sure that I want something that morbid in my collection.
Well, Cliff, we can't probably. We probably don't want an original electric chair here, but there's something original that we might be able to get.
Uh-oh. I think he's setting me up here.
I'm setting Cliff up. Those of you who have credit cards at home, we'll give you a link later on that you can contribute to. But here's a little bit more of how local history matters. You ever hear of the TV show Pawn Stars?
Oh, yes.
It's on the History Channel.
You'll love this.
It's on the History Channel. And believe it or not, one of the first shows of Pawn Stars, and I think it went on a show that aired August 23rd, 2013, called Mission to Pawn. Someone came into the pawn shop out there in Las Vegas, and guess what they had?
The original blueprints.
That's right.
Yeah.
They had the original blueprints to the electric chair that was made in Rising Sun, Indiana. And they had the original blueprint of the electric chair. It was framed up. They sold them. They bought them. The guys at Pawn Stars bought the blueprints to the electric chair.
What, for like $2,500?
$1,500. The guy wanted $5,000,
Yeah.
and you know how Pawn Stars.
Oh
work.
yeah, I'll give you 100.
I don't know. It's not worth that to
Not
me.
worth that.
I've tried to look at the picture online. It's barely legible.
Yeah, faded.
But here's the thing. They never sold it. Apparently, there's not a lot of demand for blueprints for
an electric chair.
For an electric chair, at least not there. But
Yeah.
they're listed on the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop website, which is the Pawn Stars.
And how much?
$250.
Oh, anybody out there want to help us out?
$250, and we can get the original blueprints.
And we can hang it next to our replica out there.
We can put it in. Well, I don't know. We'll probably got to do some major conservation on it, because it appears that the blueprints are heavily faded. Now, blueprints aren't made to last.
It's like old mimeograph. It kind of fades out.
It fades out. So you know, if the museum wants to fund me, I'll make a trip out to Las Vegas. And here's the thing: I'll put $5 in a slot machine.
And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll put put $5 in a slot machine.
Yeah.
And if we win 250,
you can buy them.
We can buy it and bring it back to Rising Sun. So how would that be? That sounds like a good idea.
Or someone out there could call the director, me, and pledge some money. That would be good too. So
well, but I do like my slot machine idea. I think I'm pretty lucky on this.
Lane needs a vacation.
Nickel slots. You can get it, and then plus they've got all the shrimp cocktail. You can eat. So hey, that's always something that's going to be good there.
Now, one thing we didn't mention about Mr. Smith, when he was approached with this contract, he had a real moral dilemma because he was a very religious man.
Yeah,
and he was really torn about, do I really want to make something that's going to kill a human being? Do I want to be responsible for that? And I think he took a few months to think about it, and they kept coming back with higher offers. And eventually he convinced himself that, it would be a more humane way for these people that had to die. And plus, it set him and his family up quite well. It's never been disclosed how much money he made. But after it was done, they were able to buy a nice house in Indianapolis, and he moved up there and retired and lived out.
These were custom built chairs made out of white oak. With reclining backs.
Reclining, yeah.
And that had to be a pretty good chunk of money back in the.
I'm sure it was.
Because 1928, we're in depression then.
Yep.
And so that it must have set him up pretty well.
I'm sure it did.
So the blacksmith shop, as I understand it, was at the foot of Main Street.
Foot of Main. Yep.
And that's where he constructed it. Now the blacksmith shop is gone.
Gone. There was a whole set of row buildings down there, and the original fronts, of course, faced the river. And when Lane, you and I were kids back in the day, those buildings were still standing. So
I remember the old houses that used to stand there, and I don't know if that
was on the far left.
Okay.
The end building with the blacksmith shop.
So that was actually it.
That was it.
Is that the one that they had to? That burned several times?
Mysteriously, yes.
Mysteriously burned?
Burned a couple times.
Problem was the fire department kept showing up and putting the fire out, and they never were able to get it cleared off.
Yeah.
But if you go down to the foot of Main Street now in Rising Sun, you're going to see the pavilion.
Yes.
And then to the right there, obviously there's trees and flowers and park benches. Very, very pretty place.
It is.
But back in the day, there were brick buildings on both sides of the road.
Because the river was the commerce center.
But the river was a lot smaller then.
It was much smaller, much shallower.
And so the river has pretty much, when it got big back in when they put the high-rise dams in, the river bank started, breaking away.
Several floods. There was the 37 flood, of course, and bigger ones before that. And I think in 64, there was a large flood when we were young. My grandparents lived on Front Street, and they were
64.
64. They were
Mhm.
starting to carry all the furniture to the second floor, and it crested. So
You know, I won't tell you how old I was during the 64 flood, but I remember my dad driving through water below town.
Oh yeah.
And we had this old car. I couldn't even tell you what kind of car it was. But back in those days, we didn't have car seats. We didn't have seat belts. And Dad's like, well, let's see how deep it is. And so he's driving through the water below town, what we call the Dick Cade's property. You're aware what that, where that is. It's just right down 56 below town. And as we're driving through, the water starts seeping into the car. And so we're standing on the seats going,
we're sinking, Dad.
Dad, we better turn around. He goes,
Yeah.
well, I guess so. And so he backed up and when the flood happened. But but the blacksmith shop now is long gone.
Long gone, yes.
And but the history's still there, right?
It is. And just the purpose of these kind of broadcasts, we can't let that history die. Even something as morbid as an electric chair is part of our history, part of our culture here, and we need to make sure people remember these things so that future generations will know about it. So
we had the more humane electric chair.
yes.
And if you or any of your friends want to come down here, we will put you in that chair.
I'll strap you up.
We will hand you, a piece of meat, and we will tune it up. Do some No, we don't.
We'll give you a turkey timer when it pops.
This is a non-working model.
It's a non-working model
that we have here at the museum.
Yes.
There is no, there's no electricity run to it. Because I remember a few years ago we did a ghost ride essentially for Halloween. And at the end of the ghost ride, we brought people in, we talked about the murder, and we had someone sitting in the chair. And of course we used a little sound effects and strobe light effect. And it was pretty good for Halloween.
Gruesome. Yeah, it was pretty gruesome.
But it was good for Halloween. And people really, I guess they enjoyed it because, some people took the ghost ride more than once.
Yeah,
so
they paid to see it.
So maybe we'll have to, after hours here some night, set it up again.
We'll do that.
Maybe give people an opportunity.
Now, one thing we didn't
that.
mention, this chair, we said it was made out of white oak. It was harvested from the woods around here. It takes men to move this thing. It is incredibly heavy.
Now, is our model made out of white oak?
Yes, it's all the same material.
Wow.
They went out and found a white oak tree. They cut it. They cured it. The same process that the original builder did.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's detail. And Dean really spent his time.
All the copper was hammered. Everything was done exactly as it would have been done in 1928. So.
Now, the pads, and if you come down and look at it, there's these pads that go around your hands.
Yeah,
and then
lamb's wool.
Lamb's wool. So
lamb's wool. They would soak that with water, and if you've seen the Green Mile, you know why they do that. Electric, of course, loves water and will travel faster. So they would soak the lamb's wool on the forearms, the legs, and then the skull cap had some wool lining and copper plates inside.
Do we have a skull cap?
We do.
We have everything.
We have everything. All it needs is current. So, and it would function.
So, if you want to bring back the death penalty, we're prepared to. No.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
Don't get in trouble in Rising Sun.
Don't get in trouble in Rising Sun. We'll take care of it. So,
you think Dearborn County is tough? Yeah.
But again, 5,000 people came out to view this chair. In the Dibble Hardware store last Saturday and Sunday.
Your old office.
People came from many miles around Rising Sun and from distant cities to view the instruments of death. A guy named Charles Potter acted as guard while the chairs were on display.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a gruesome part of Rising Sun's history.
The dark side of Rising Sun.
And it's something unique about this little town.
Yeah, and it's something we need to remember. Like I said, it's part of our history and our heritage. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot more.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard subject to go into great detail on. So yeah, but if I can put in a plug for the museum, now we're open to the public Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 4. The director is here, me, on Mondays. I have office hours. I never turn anybody away. We're open on the weekend, noon to 4. We'd love to have you as a member. Memberships start at $10, go all the way up to $150. And we have facilities that you can have a party in. You can rent it at a very reasonable rate. Helps us with our expenses. We'd love to have you support. We'd love for you to come and visit. Admission's free.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a nice donation box, and we do love donations.
Any little bit you can get.
Yeah,
helps.
any little bit helps. We're a private organization. We're very grateful to the City of Rising Sun and Ohio County government for their operating support. We couldn't operate without them. We're very grateful to them for that. So we invite you down to see it. Recently, Cincinnati Refined came down and did an excellent photo interview on the museum, and they're coming back in April. They were so impressed that they want me to take them through town, do a historic tour, and talk about the founding of Rising Sun, how unique it was in the early Western frontier and the role it played. So we're looking forward to that.
And I would be remiss. You're on TV tonight.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm on Fox 19 tonight. Got a phone call. Reporter gave me about an hour's notice, and I had to meet him down at the Berkshire House. And if you don't know what that is, Rising Sun recently became an Underground Railroad town. And what's unique about our status is it's not your ordinary Underground Railroad town. This was very early in the movement, the 1830s. And we're getting off subject, but it is part of our history. We had an African-American family here who were freed from Kentucky, came over here, and actually became abolitionists and conductors. The house still stands. We put a state marker. It's located on the corner of 4th and South Poplar. It's still standing. Right now it's in a transition stage. It's being auctioned off, and we're hoping that something can be done.
Well, we're hoping that local people step up to help save this property so that it's a contributing part of the Underground Railroad.
Very important part.
I mean, literally, there are stories that we were told of a lady standing in the front door keeping the slave hunters away.
Yeah, it must have been a remarkable family.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I assume that that's a topic for several more episodes.
It is, and we'll probably invite
a
a local history expert from Boone County who is the scholar on that family.
That sounds good. Then I don't have to do all the talking.
That's right. We won't have to do all the talking. That would be Hillary Delaney. She's the local history director for Boone County Library Services. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll try to get back a little faster than we did on the last one.
Yeah, the holidays kind of took a toll.
We kind of got a little bit behind because of the holidays and everything else. Remember, we're new at this, and by no means are we professionals. So I'm Lane Siekman signing off here tonight from the Ohio County Historical Society.
And Cliff Thies, director of the society.
And thank you all for being a part of Local History Matters.
Thank you. See you next time.
Okay.
Off the air.
I think we're off.
Hope we're off. Yeah, it went all right. It went all right. We kind of have a good time battering each other. So.
Are we still on?
Turn it up here and see.
You're probably on a delay because they do delay a little bit. I hit end.
That could be.
Do you want